Hello, I'm Viper. Usually I'd be making a Nagito video for this dead channel. However, I have been busy with school and graduation, and I've gotten quite fond of English and literature. While I am no expert, but with my hyperfixations, I might as well be. But instead of heading to college, here's me at home ranting about things that frankly I do not like. And thus, this is a new series, until I become stable enough, to do other cringy stuff by myself. So, welcome to How to Write Dumbasses, where I mansplain and explain why tropes in writing and other things are bad and how to fix it. Despite the title, I won't try to, become a person who shits on writing, sorry, for the sake of it. Besides, because because of it, I'm shitty as well, like as a writer. Like, I'm not going to do this for the sake of it. However, I do have experience, as previously stated, as me being a writer. But that doesn't make me a person who knows everything, so take this with a grain of salt. Simple, got it. Okay, let's get started. So, in this episode, the pilot pretty much, we'll be explaining why autism in media sucks. Well, at least, mainly sucks. Though, see, as an autistic person, I do think representation of not just autism, but mental illness is very good. Whether it's for a character trait that obviously you want to have it be well written, but we'll get to that later, or just generally have it be a plot for a story. Even though this example is not literature-based, think of Amori and how it's depictions of depression, and how that's a very praised game. Of course, I'll be also mentioning other things in media. It won't just be writing and literature, but for the sake of this video, we're going to be focusing on the writing part, not the literature part. However, I will be diving into literature that could be used as an example, like actual books and shit. Don't see, autism is very hard to correct as a mental illness because unlike depression and PTSD, those are usually one-sided and one-tone in terms of like the concept of it. Granted, there are probably still stereotypes with both of them that if you rely heavily on the idea of writing said mental illnesses will become redundant and useless and pointless. But the thing with autism is way different from that. That being, unlike depression, which is more or less a mood swing, autism, well, is a spectrum. Why do you think it's called the autism spectrum? But like, the thing with autism is, let's take depression, for example, again. While you could be writing depression, but the thing with the autism spectrum is there's probably a type of autism that has that mood disorder, that mood swings. So not only you have to accurately depict that mental illness, that being depression, and the mood swings that it causes, but then you also have to represent autism. But here's where people get things wrong in terms of a writing sense. If you're writing a character with ADHD and figured they should also have autism, well, it is a common trope that is usually not harmful. They usually try and make it where it represents the whole spectrum instead of just the one that has that very particular thing. The thing with autism is technically there is no correct way of writing it, but there's a subjective way to write it, which is the more optimized preferred way of writing, because if you try and write autism on the objective level, you wouldn't get anywhere. It just becomes a stereotypical mess. The difference with of stereotyping and using custom and fuck. I'm gonna be doing this a lot, am I? But yeah, the difference of stereotyping and using common traits of autism. They're two different things. The thing with the common traits of autism are the usual standards. Sometimes they're nonverbal. Sometimes they have sensitive skin that can't allow them to do X, Y, and Z. Sometimes they get scared or, pressured when they hear loud noises. So on and so forth. Notice how I've been saying sometimes. That's what makes the difference of common traits and outright stereotyping them. Because if you're stereotyping them, there wouldn't be no sometimes. You would be saying all these common traits like it's fact, when in reality it's the opposite. If I said autism people, or people of autism or neurodivergency, can't communicate, then that's a stereotype. I just named a stereotype of autism. It's important to throw in that sometimes. And even if you feel like it's not that sometimes, there's that possibility. Not that absolute 100%. Separate fact from fiction even when you're making a realistic setting. Because that's what autism is. It's not just that one standalone thing. It has to be separate. It's separate in its own unique way that you have to write in particularly in most things. The treatment of autism, and I'm going to go also into... Actually, no, hold on. This leads into what I was about to say, that being the treatment of autism characters depending on the story and scenario. This is where shit gets complicated and not so easy when broken down because of common logic which people lack. After all, this is how to write dumbasses. If you're watching this, you're probably a dumbass who doesn't write, or you're just one of my friends that I sent you this link to. However, potato, the point being is the treatment of autism characters, mainly, most of the time, they've been oversimplified. And most of this standard is coming from children's TV shows, such as Sesame Street, which, in fact, does have an autism-based character. However, in Sesame Street, that character is overly redundant. While I'm not asking for Sesame Street to get into needy-greedy, unhealthy traits, concepts, and other stuff about autism that might scare kids away. No, it's Sesame Street. But the general idea is, the thing with autism is that you shouldn't oversimplify it into something that is very detailed and very stereotypical, while still also trying to do many other things with it. Autism, when explaining to mainly a younger audience, such as Sesame Street viewers, it is best to depict them as just being different and unique in that general sense. Unique how you would represent someone who has been in the military for children, for things like Veterans Day and such. That being, they have something and they're clearly changed by what they've gone through. However, it's not their overall premise. They explain it and put it into minor details that are easily understandable. Do the same thing with autism. Autism is overall, genuinely, just the thing cannot oversimplify or chisel down into something that can be easily fed. But I'm not saying you should make autism this huge thing that you have to shove down in people's throats to get them to understand. Because the thing with autism is that, like, it's genuinely easy if you know what you're doing, and it takes some research. A part of me thinks that Sesame Street doesn't do that research. That's why I have, like, gripe with one of the characters. Go fuck yourself. But the idea is, boiled down, is treat autism in terms of child representation to a minimum, which could be as compared as, say, showing a kid and teaching them about someone who has depression or anxiety. That being, they're different, but they're just the same as you and me. Just these little quirks. It's really simple. It's not just the usual stereotypical. You don't even need to bring up the usual autism-based things in order to represent it. Just, if anything, the character alone could just be detached and reworked in a way to get the same impression of autism, and or work your own way of autism that fits with the show, that's not usually just this slop, pretty much. Because, again, autism is subjective. My views on autism is way different from, say, the next person and the next person. I might hate how Sesame Street represents it, but the next person over might like it, the next person over might not agree or disagree. Because, after all, when I write autism in characters, and this is not me bragging, this is just genuine, I usually write them in a way which isn't for the child audience. So, my opinion could be biased here, and you don't have to, follow my opinion here. And if somehow this does get popular, I swear to God, if people start shitting on me in the comments or start shit with each other because I had an opinion, go fuck yourself. Opinions are dumb, and what I'm saying is arguably the dumbest thing you could ever heard. So why are you over here caring about it if in your eyes it could be dead wrong? Of course, I could word that as better, but the idea is that, guess what? We're different people. Understood? Yeah, understood. Okay. So, another example is to explain why mental illness and characters in general can be really good, but really harmful if not done right. Because the thing with mental illness and characters is, I kind of already explained it a bit in the intro, but the idea is that autism and other mental illnesses can bring uniqueness in a character. However, if you make that character have that mental illness for the sake of having a mental illness and not do research in it, then what's the point in even giving the character it? You're just doing it as a look at me, I'm special type of way. That's the difference. If I give a character PTSD, god damn it, I'm going to research the lasting effects of what PTSD and what post-traumatic stress disorder does to a person. How it can lead to other mood swings, like anger or just overall depression sometimes. There's those facts. You have to look it up. In fact, I've known several people who have PTSD, and if I'm clueless, I can go ask them. I'm not saying make friends with a person with PTSD just so you could ask what their fucking experience is. But the idea is that it's not hard to know and get into what mental illnesses can or can't do. do the same thing with autism. There's several researchers and a bunch of shit about it. And while I'm not supporting using the use of AI, but if you are so brain dead stupid that you need AI to know what autism is, go ahead. As long as you know what it is as a concept and what it does to a person. But I really recommend just simply Googling it and doing it your own, because that at least implies that if you do get it wrong, you at least have some intelligence to rely on. And now let's get to the hard part of this. Ableism and disabilities. Of course, when you're representing a mental illness, people are going to get mad. Not because of how you represented it. They're going to get mad because they're going to consider you woke and other dumb bullshit. Here's the thing. In my eyes, why the fuck should I care? If you don't like something that I made, you could go shove it. As egotistical and sorry, I'm stuttering. Yeah. But as rude, as egotistical, as selfish as that is, it's a fact. If you don't like something, that doesn't give you the right to cancel it or try and stop it just because of something else. The only time where cases like that are, valued and actually reasonable is if the content that you're trying to cancel is harmful and affects you as a person in a special type of way, not because it hurt your feelings. If I made this video and all of a sudden some autistic kid, I don't know, ended up being fine or anything of the sort, then clearly I'm doing no harm. But if I said something like, oh, as an autistic kid, you should write about autism and how it makes people into criminals, and then here's me listing off some crimes autistic people made, and then all of a sudden an autistic kid watches this video and does a crime, then yes, that's the right time to cancel me and to get on me for. But however, that's just the influence. That's how influencing works. I'm not here to influence. I'm here to speak facts. There's a difference. This entire section might be unrelated to everything I have so far, but god damn it, it pisses me off. You guys should stop. I know this is the internet where I can easily get doxxed, but frankly, imagine getting doxxed because I was talking about my own mental illness and how it's represented in media. I mean, the concept's there, but that would be the stupidest waste of your time. Really? Anyways. But ableism is a real thing, and it sucks. And to use the word hate here would be inappropriate because hate does not equal 1/billionth of the amount of hate I had for ableism. Yes, that's a book reference. Comment down below if you know what that book's from. That quote's from. Sorry. I'm having a stroke. But the thing with disabilities is not just the ableism, but the idea of, again, how it affects you as a person, or how the disability affects the character that you're trying to write or portray here. There's a bunch of examples on characters that don't have this and characters that do have this, but all I can say is that those two are really important, because if you're writing something that's and it's not just mental illness, you could write a gay character or a trans character or a character that's black, a character that's mixed, just a character that falls under that umbrella term of quote unquote woke, there's going to be pushback, not just from ableists, but also people with homophobia, racists, the whole jazz. And it's best that you, as a person, know your limits, know what they are, and don't be surprised if they ended up harassing you or trying to get you off the internet. That's what they want. It may take a mental toll on you, but you'll get it. We'll get it together. You are not alone. So, finally, examples of very good autism, even though these characters in particular are not confirmed to have autism, but they're definitely good baseline characters in terms of how they act mentally that could work when it comes to writing autism. However, again, autism relies on you as a writer and person. Characters like Merceau from The Stranger and Yuri from Doki Doki Literature Club are two different characters entirely personality-wise. One's from a game, one's from a book, obviously. But the thing with, say, Merceau, for example, is while Albert Camus didn't make him autistic for the sake of being autistic, the idea with The Stranger is Merceau shows, at least when it comes to modern day readers, signs of that neurodivergency and that autism, which are very portrayed well and really, really interesting and could be really used to, say, make your character. And Yuri from Doki Doki Literature Club shows a really good, pretty much the opposite of that, while still also being a really, really good character for autism. Because the thing with Yuri is that she also, in terms of the modern day and world, also shows signs of neurodivergency, which could also be linked to autism. These characters, and I know someone's going to hear this and twist it into some bullshit like, oh, Yuri doesn't have autism, and yeah, I fucking know, dipshit. I'm just using her as an example, as a baseline. I'm not saying she is autistic, but most people assume she is because of how she acts, not because she actually is. Same thing goes with Merceau, whatever you want to call him. There's that difference. Just pretty much what we learned here, do your fucking research. And yep, this is literally the entire series. Just me ranting about one thing, bringing up some points that may or may not be true, then just do your research. I don't care if I get proven wrong in the comments, because guess what? I actually like that. Not because it helps the algorithm, but it also helps, give me ideas and concepts. Because I'm not going to just, say something wrong and then realize I'm wrong, then double down and triple down and do all this bullshit. I want people to actually interact with me and understand these concepts with me. That's the reason why I'm making this series. While I may be here ranting and dicking around and joking about it, there will be more series like these that will, in fact, go into the depths of story writing and how I think it can improve and how it can be good based off of personal experience and maybe your experience. It would be really nice to have your thoughts down below if you decide to put it as such. But of course, it's getting long as a video because it's longer than my usual 10 minutes when it comes to videos like these. So I'll end it off here. Maybe episode 2 I could go in depth of autism media with more research and more points, and maybe correcting myself if I said something wrong. Who knows? Because entirely this has just been a endless rant. So, like, comment, subscribe, you know the deal. If you're watching this, fucking Let's hope you could serve us a hidden gem or something. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, motherfuckers.